How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, the story I'm about to read you, I personally take with a pinch of salt. You'll have to let me know what you think, guys. Sorry, I'm just looking at the story. I take it with a pinch of salt. It could happen, but I don't think it is happening. Right, but anyway, I'm going to read the story. It's not about what I think, it's about what you think. I bring the issues, I say my little bit. You agree with me, you disagree with me, come back at me and stuff. It's a debate. So let me know what you think about this particular story in the comment section below. Link in the description. So the headline reads, "Criminals gangs apply for jail jobs to smuggle drugs, say police." The police say there is a growing evidence that members of organised criminal gangs are getting prison service jobs to smuggle banned items. A senior officer has told the BBC he has strong suspicions this is happening, but links are hard to prove. Ministers admit it can happen, but say better search techniques will help. An X-ray body scanner to detect drugs has been installed at Leeds Jail, one of 10 where ministers aim to cut drug-fueled violence by the summer. Prisons Minister Rory Stewart says he's cautiously optimistic. In August, he said he would resign if the 10 prisons did not improve within a year under a £10 million programme to improve their security and living conditions. The programme also includes building repairs, better perimeter security and the use of sniffer dogs at the jail, which the Ministry of Justice has identified as having acute problems with high drug use, violence and poor buildings. That's all prisons. I believe we can do it, Mr. Stewart told the BBC in December. We've got early indications in some of these prisons. We're beginning to get a grip on it. The worst 10 prisons, it should say, that's what it really should say, are Hull, Humber, Isis, Leeds, Lindholme, Moreland, Nottingham, Rambit, Wealdstone and Wormwood Scrubs, or the Scrubs as it's known locally. Official figures analysed by BBC News show the number of assaults have increased steadily since 2014 and was projected to increase last year in all jails except for Nottingham and Wormwood Scrubs. However, Mr. Stewart acknowledged some jails might try to reduce assaults simply by moving dangerous offenders to other establishments, which just passing the buck. There's definitely a risk. I'm very, very clear though, we need to play this fair. The idea is that I can look other governors in the face and say, we turned around these 10 prisons without cheating. Police believe the drugs trade in jails is coordinated by organised criminal groups. I'd agree with that. Assistant Chief Constable Jason Hogg, who leads on a prison intelligence for the National Police Chiefs Council, try saying that after a few shandies, said he strongly suspects gangs are getting their associates or family members jobs in the prison service with the intention of smuggling contraband in, even though this was difficult to prove. Less than 1%. This ACC Hogg said he was unaware of any cases where people caught with contraband in prison had been forthcoming about their links to organised crime, but added there were examples of people getting jobs within the prison staff and then being recruited by criminals. Speaking to BBC Radio 4 programme, Mark Fairhurst at the Prison Officers Association said there was evidence both prison officers and civilian staff were employed by criminal gangs around the UK, but that was accounted for less than 1% of prison staff. He added the use of X-ray body scanners was vital in the battle against drugs in prison. However, a former prison inmate who identified himself only as David told Today that drugs were a reality of prison life. He added, no matter what kind of security, if somebody wants a drug, they will get a drug. Reality check. Which banned goods are making their way into prison? In the year ending March 2018, there were 51,993 incidents of contraband being found in prisons in England and Wales. The largest group was drugs, with 13,119 seizures in the year. This has tripled since 2010. In a third of cases, the drug was a psychoactive substance such as spice. Very few cases, just 408, involve the most serious Class A drugs, which include cocaine and heroin. Nearly 11,000 illicit mobile phones and 5,000 SIM cards were also found. There are also 19,000 cases of seizures classed as other, a category which includes tobacco, alcohol, distilling equipment, weapons, or any other reportable item. Mr. Stewart said, searching was the answer to the problem of corruption. Searching not just them in terms of finding a bad apple, but also if you have a very good search procedure in place, it's much more difficult for a prisoner to put pressure on a prison officer, he said. HMP Leeds is the first of 10 prisons to have installed an X-ray scanner to detect packages hidden inside a prisoner's body. No mention of prison officers, guys, which costs about 120,000. Operates in a similar way to a standard hospital X-ray machine, but the levels of radiation is 400 times lower. A prisoner will be scanned only when intelligence indicates they may be carrying drugs, up to a maximum of 50 times a year. Prison staff at Leeds believe the X-ray scanner will act as a game changer in the battle to stop drugs getting in. But the Governor, Steve Robson, warned that offenders were adept at finding other methods, even smuggling new psychoactive substances, easy for me to say, such as spice, into their clothes or clothes worn by prison visitors. They've been soaking clothes in drugs and either smoking them, cutting bits of them up, and then using the kettles to boil the drugs out and impregnating them back into the paper, said Mr. Robson. We found lots of bits of dressing gown and we tested that came back very high for new psychoactive substances and fitted it with the intelligence that happened, so we started swabbing all the clothes. He said it is a game of cat and mouse. You close one avenue and a more ingenious will often think of other ways of doing it, he said. Do you know what, guys, right? Imagine, right, getting a job, right? Imagine being part of an organised criminal gang, right? Doing 10 weeks training, 1 week specifically on control and restraint training, to then shadow an officer in the jail where you don't get your keys, and then eventually after a few weeks you'll get your keys, right? Just very long-winded, guys. The reality is, this is the simpler option of what they're trying to say there about criminal gangs trying to get like its members to become prison officers. No. You're in prison and you work on the staff, and you'll have you might have old school screws that are like, you do it by the book. If you're entitled to it, you'll get it. If you're not, you won't. They're employing, right, more younger and younger and younger people to just sticking them in a uniform, sticking them on the wings with no life experience, right? They're demoralised, they're pissed off, they're of a similar age to the prisoners. They might have even gone to the same school, they might be from the same estate if it's a local. The prisoner works on the prison officer. Look, why work for this much? Look, listen, you can bring in one lot of shipment. Look, bring it in once and stuff. I can get over it. You can get a month's worth of wages, 2 months worth of wages, obviously depending on the size of the parcel, right? And all it is, guys, is the drug market in prison is that lucrative. Prison officers are cashing in on it. That's the reality. You don't need to go through all this effort of going through 10 weeks training and shit like that, and time and effort and DBS checks, disclosing barred services checks and stuff. You can just simply recruit a prison officer, and the lure of money, there'll be always someone that will say, yes, everyone has a price, right? These screws will have a price, and they'll bend their ear and stuff, and then they'll start with a small amount, the small amount will get through, then it'll get a larger amount and a larger amount, and then the risk goes up, so does the money, because obviously risk versus reward. And then next minute, if you've got a prison officer in your pocket, you're laughing. They can tell you on the system if there's any markers against your name, any intelligence, things like that, guys, right? It's it's very worthwhile having a prison officer on the payroll. And the reality is prison officers are seeing how lucrative the drugs market is within prisons, and they're simply cashing in, whether it be intimidation, whether it be a sexual relationship between a female screw and a male con, or a male officer at a female prison and falls for a female officer. And then, like I say, sexual relationships, it could be blackmail. I know where you fucking live. I know where your missus lives. I know where your bird lives. Do you know what I mean? Right, that's another way. Right? It could be blackmail. Say that you become friendly with a female officer. You might have a mobile in your cell. You give her your number. You start saying to her, listen, miss. Listen, not miss. You're not calling miss, obviously. Say, right, listen, babe. Right, send me a picture in your uniform with your tits out, showing your face. Right. So then she sends him a picture in a prison uniform with her tits out, with her face, with her epaulets and a uniform. Clearly her. Right, you better start bringing me fucking contraband in, right? Because if not, I'll take these pictures straight to the fucking governor. And then under duress, right, she'll start bringing stuff in. You had the officer from Leeds Jail, Jay Dix, fell in love with a con by the sounds of things. He was using her, he didn't give a shit about her using her like a little skank, right? And then he got shipped out to Donny, she left the prison service and then carried on taking him drugs in jail. If he really give a shit about her, he wouldn't have put her in that position, would he? But he was obviously using her. Prisoners are very manipulative, guys, and they are masters of manipulation. And if a prisoner wants something, he'll get it. And like I say, they're very shrewd, they're very clever. People think, for the most, because unless it's like white collar crime, most people stereotype prisoners, think we're thick as pig shit, thick, uneducated, illiterate. Do you know what I mean? But you put a prisoner in prison and when I first went to jail, right, in Strangeways, yeah, seeing constricts and stuff like that, it blew my fucking mind, man. I was like, wow, what the fuck? It was because prisons are different. Well, if you've never been in jail and then you end up in jail, you've heard about it, you don't know much about it, but yeah, what goes on? You end up in jail and you're seeing these constricts and how the wing works and stuff. And clever, man. Prisoners are geniuses. They're really, really clever. Like I say, from brewing hooch to smuggling contraband to sending lines out to getting contraband in to soaking drugs with hallucinogenics or new psychoactive substances. Do you know what I mean? To fashioning weapons. Genius. Absolute genius, guys. And anyone that thinks prisoners are thick and stupid clearly doesn't know nothing about prisoners. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave the video here. Let me know what you think. Do you believe that criminal gangs are applying for prison officer jobs, or do you just believe that prison officers are cashing in because they've either been manipulated or they've been they've been offered money and the financial they're thinking, well, fucking hell, I can earn for one morning's work just getting drugs into the jail. As soon as that drug, if you give someone a drug, say £1,000 worth of a drug, as soon as that crosses that barrier, that boundary into the jail, it's going up 4, 5, 6, 7 times that. It depends on how many drugs are on the wing. Again, if you're the only person on the wing with the specific drug, right, say it's spice, right? Spice is the drug of choice in prison. People like weed and other drugs, but spice for most people is a big drug. Now, if it's spice, if you're the only person with spice on the wing because parcels have been intercepted or whatnot, you can charge a premium. So people, you're going to get more for your money, right? Because you're going to get more for your drug because you're selling it. They might even outbid each other. It's been known, right? If you've got 5 guys on the wing selling it, yeah, the same drug, right, you've got to bring your prices down, because if not, people will undercut you. It's a business at the end of the day, and your users will go to another dealer on the same wing because it's cheaper. I can get more drug I can get more drug for my money from him. You're charging too much. So, like I say, it's a drug market also going on within the prison. Let me know what you think. It's not about what I think, it's about what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.